Hey guys and gals, Ricardo with Gathering Magic here with our debut episode of the weekly deck tech. Now this deck that we're going to go over has gone through a lot of different names. We've heard Breachscape and Makeshift, but today I'm just going to go over Breachscape as we go over Through the Trap. Through the Breach has always been an interesting card as well as Summoning Trap for Modern. We've been looking forward to finding a proper place for these two cards, and after seeing Scott Lipp top 8 GP Omaha with his red-green Through the Breach list, I've decided to delve into what makes this deck tick. Keep in mind this event was prior to January 19th when they did the bannings and unbannings. How this deck works is actually quite different than most. It attacks on a plethora of angles. It uses Through the Breach to close out games if Emrakul just so happens to be in your hand. Otherwise, you are putting a Primeval Titan into play and working towards a fast victory with Valakut triggers. If you don't see your Through the Breach at all, you can ramp up to your big spells off Suspended Search for Tomorrows and turn 2 Farseeks or Sakura-Tribe Elders. This deck's defense is almost as good as its offense. This list is equipped with 3 Anger of the Gods for the pseudo Wrath of God needed to fight off Delver, Young Pyromancer, and Affinity lists. It also has 3 Chalice of the Voids to combat the faster decks that like to abuse its 1-drops. If it gets low on life points, you also have Obstinate Baloth to bounce back. It's important to note that Obstinate Baloth is also very good against any black-green X decks that like to use Liliana the Veil to force players to trim their hand size. If you are against a control deck, then you have Summoning Trap to get past counterspells and jam an Emrakul or Primeval Titan onto the battlefield. The sideboard for Scott Lipp's list include cards to just refine the deck against either high-speed aggro or control matchups. For the Affinity list, he has included 1 Krosan Grip, 1 Shatterstorm, 2 Ancient Grudge, 1 Engineered Explosives, and 1 more Anger of the Gods. For the Delver list, he has 1 Anger of the Gods, 1 Engineered Explosives, and 3 Boil. For the Control matchup, he has 3 Boils, 2 Slaughter Games, and 1 Sowing Salt for the Colonnades. For Birthing Pod, he has 2 Ancient Grudge, 1 Krosan Grip, 1 Engineered Explosives, and 1 Anger of the Gods. For Splinter Twin combo, he has 1 Engineered Explosives, 1 Krosan Grip, 2 Slaughter Games, 2 Combust, and 3 Boils. Aside from the 1 Obstinate Baloth, there really isn't anything notable against mid-range for the sideboard. Most of his choices for mid-range seem pretty situational. Now keep in mind these are all options prior to the bannings, so obviously his sideboard is going to change. Now I've seen other lists similar to this one before, and I figured that I would scour the deck lists that have top-8 GPs, and I found another list by Ricardo van den Bogaard. This was his list. So, with these two lists side by side, we have some consistencies, but there are some differences. Let's go ahead and look at Scott's list and see what he has tweaked. So Scott Lipp has taken out 1 Emrakul, 1 Summoning Trap, 1 Anger of the Gods, 2 Mountains, and 4 Arid Mesas, and he has put in 2 Scapeshifts, 2 Courser of Kruphix, 4 Bloodstained Mires, and 1 Bloodcrypt. Scott Lipp has thought a bit ahead towards matches he had to close out really fast. By adding more Scapeshifts, he was able to do so, and the Courser of Kruphixes were able to protect him against the early aggro matches such as Delver and Zoo. From Scott's sideboard, we have a few changes as well. He has 0 Ley Lines of Sanctity, and he has replaced it with an Obstinate Baloth, 2 Slaughter Games, and another Boil. His sideboard looks to be geared more towards blue lists such as Delver, Twin, and Jeskai Control. He also has more Artifact hate, which I assume is for the Affinity lists. Now, I decided to recreate the deck and draw a few sample hands to see its consistency. My results were pretty heavily favored towards early Summoning Traps, Through the Breaches, and Prime Times, just like the deck was designed. I played a few matches with some of my patrons at my local game store, and I did quite well against Affinity in games 2 and 3, while my matches against Jeskai Flash were quite complex. Establishing early ramp was always really important. 1 Sakura-Tribe Elder early game against Zoo saved me a few points of damage. All in all, I really liked how seemingly out of nowhere I would just beat my opponents. This is one of the hands that I kept against Abzan midrange. Do you think I should have kept this? Breachscape is a pretty fun list, and I'd love to hear what you guys think, especially with the most recent addition to the bans. We know Delver and Pod are no longer contenders for the title, so the sideboard will just have to change, right? In the comments section below, let me know what you guys think of this deck and how you might improve it. As always, friends, thanks for hanging out with me here today at Gathering Magic.